We do have a quorum with Mr. Olson absent, also Mr. Colson absent.
Okay, we have some new people on staff since our last meeting, so I'll ask Ray if he would just do the introduction.
Yeah, thank you. Since our meeting last month had to be canceled because of the weather, so otherwise we would have introduced them to you. And both of them, new staff members, started in January, and we're excited because we lost some, and now we're filling all the vacancies, and now we have full staff. So we have Greg Hans and also Tanya Barreto. I'll let them to briefly introduce themselves to you, and feel free to take off your mask if it comes to each of them.
Want to go for it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi guys, I'm Greg Haas. Like Ray said, started in January. I am originally from Champaign, then moved and actually worked for about 4 years over in Columbus, Ohio for their MPO. So coming different location, similar experiences for sure. Glad to be here and glad to be here for the first time. I've been so far the last month or so been working on grant applications. I'll be working forward on the RAISE grant that I know that Ray mentioned at last meeting. So yeah, and I know he'll talk about the grant that we applied for this past month. I'll mention that a little bit later, but glad to meet all you guys. And I don't know if you want me to add anything else there, but
Any questions? Okay.
nice to meet everybody.
Okay, hi everybody, nice to meet you all. My name is Tanya. So I'm actually originally from Ecuador, and I was studying at Purdue University, and so I like to meet West. So I stayed and came to work here. So I am an assistant planner, and I also started in January. So
Okay. If I may add to just try being modest, between Ecuador and the US, actually, she went for a master's degree in Australia for in planning, and before coming to the US, in Purdue, Indiana, University. So, yeah, Greg is our committee planner, and then as Tanya said, she's our assistant planner, so we're glad that they willing to join us. As you know, it's hard to find good people, and so we're glad that they came and joined us. So we have full staff. Some are actually working behind the scene, as you may or may not know. Actually, we got 2 people working in the office, making sure the live streaming is working because to meet part of the legal requirements for public meetings.
Okay, Ray, is there any public comment? Any requests to make comments?
Yeah, we don't have any, and we have not received any requests for those.
The next item is the consent agenda, which covers the minutes, the financial reports, and the staff report. Is there anything anybody would like to have removed from the consent agenda? In that case, I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Barb? Second by Carl. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? So we have no items removed, so that takes us directly to number 6, and we begin with the presentation by Cassidy.
Yeah, and while you're getting yourself ready, Cassidy, so for the last few years, we have had from ISU, the Stephenson Fellow is a program of graduate students in their committee economic development programs, and it's graduate students for the second year that actually they can be placed in certain organizations. Actually, it's a competitive process. We have to apply to ISU Stephenson Center, and there are a lot of different host organizations competing for limited number of graduate students. And so last two and a half years, we've had the fellow. So Cassidy has been with us since last August, and then she'll be here through July of this year. And time flies, but we have her to help us in different projects. And also, she's helping us, and we are helping her to better equip herself for the career. So with that, we pick this topic partially because we have a number of newer planning commissioners, And although you did receive as part of the orientation materials, the history, it may be just like pages and pages of like black and white. And so I thought I had at the suggestion of our chair, this is a good opportunity to kind of share the evolution and the history of this 54th anniversary of this agency. So you're part of that history. So it started many years ago, and then Cassidy will share that journey. So Cassidy?
Yes, thank you, Ray. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the McLean County Regional Planning Commission's evolution and history. So McLean County, as many of you already probably know, is the largest county by land area in Illinois. You can see on this county map exactly where we're located. And you can see the black dashed lines encompass a small portion of the county. This is known as the Metropolitan Planning Area, or MPA. It's a geographical area determined by an agreement between the MPO, which is MCRPC in this case, and the governor, in which metropolitan planning, transportation planning process is carried out. I'll provide a little bit more detail about that in the next couple of slides. But as you can see, that area only encompasses a small portion of the county. And as you all know, MCRPC is involved in planning for a wide variety of areas outside of that box and a variety of different topics. And that is because MCRPC wears a couple of different hats. So the first is the MPO hat, or the transportation hat. And the second is a broader community planning hat that involves areas outside of the MPA and involves a diverse range of topics like comprehensive planning, broadband planning, rural planning, and much, much more. So before I jump into the history of and the evolution of MCRPC overall, I'm going to touch on what an MPO is and provide an overview of MCRPC. So MPOs are entities that were created pursuant of the 1962 Federal Aid Highway Act to ensure that metro areas within with populations over 50,000 people engage in the 3C planning process, which you can see is comprehensive, cooperative, and continuing. So they are required, MPOs are required to produce a couple of different planning documents, well, a great variety of different planning documents, UWPs, or Unified Work Programs, Transportation Improvement Programs, or TIPs, Federal Obligated Projects List, MLRTPs, or the Metropolitan Long Range Transportation Plan, Title VI, or the Civil Rights Report and Plan, and the Public Transport Participation Plan, or the PTP, and the Human Services Transportation Plan. And this is just some of the many documents that MCRPC produces. So MCRPC's vision is to be the leader for planning tomorrow's McLean County. And our mission is to bring expert planning, deep local knowledge, and vibrant public participation as we shape our future to promote opportunity, livability, and sustainability. MCRPC has 7 values outlined here. And to the right, you can see the general structure of MCRPC. Sorry, it's a little bit blocked here, but I'll explore in greater depth the structure on the next slide. So here you can see the general structure a bit more clearly. So to the left is the governance of MCRPC. This structure is determined by the bylaws, which guide the commission in the establishment of the procedures and methods of operation required to formulate comprehensive plans. In this chart is the commission, the chairman, the executive committee, and the executive director of MCRPC. The commission, as you all know, it currently has 11 members with 1 vacancy, and represents a variety of community interests such as the town of Normal, the city of Bloomington, the Bloomington Public School District 87, Bloomington Normal Airport Authority, the Water Reclamation District, the county government overall, and the Unit 5 School Board of Bloomington. The Transportation Policy and Technical Committees are integral to MPO functions. The Policy Committee conducts the final review and approval of work done by MCRPC and its role for the MPO in the MPA area. The Technical Committee guides the development of transportation plans, the annual update of the TIP, the MCRPC Annual Unified Work Program, and other required elements for MPO's work. On the right-hand side, you can see the structure of the staff and the 9 different committees that support and guide the diverse activities of MCRPC. There are currently 6 full-time staff and 1 part-time or temporary staff person. So now I'll jump into the history of MCRPC. And as I go through this information, my goal is to highlight some key moments in the administration and creation of MCRPC in these types of timelines. and then highlight some key themes of the work that's relevant today, as well as some activities that are unique to each decade. So in 1966, and just to be fair, also, I won't be reading every single element of this presentation, and this will be provided to you after this meeting. So feel free to just relax and enjoy, hopefully. So in 1966, Bloomington and Normal's population exceeded 50,000 people, and because of the 1962 Federal Aid Highway Act, the commission was organized. In 1967, a regional service agreement between the county, city, and town was adopted, and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, certified MCRPC as the area-wide review agency for all applications for federal funding. In 1968, MCRPC was formed by the McLean County Board, and MCRPC hired staff. It had a commission of 35 commissioners, and then it was also designated as the area MPO. In 1969, the commission structure changed from 35 members, like I said, to 13 members, and shortly thereafter, MCRPC was designated as the review agency from Title IV of the Intergovernmental Cooperation Act of 1968. This act set the rules that federal aid for urban planning and development be consistent with the objectives of national, state, regional, and local comprehensive plans, and supported regional cooperation and coordination for federally funded projects. In 1974, MCRPC hired its first transportation planner, and in 1975, the staff peaked at 10 people. By the end of the 70s, funding was more diverse, and the United States Department of Transportation and HUD funding were equal. All right, so during the 70s, MCRPC was engaging in a wide variety of planning activities, ranging from things that you might be familiar with, like the transportation planning and the development of regional development policy standards, as well as engaging in tasks that were unique to the time frame, such as preparing McLean County for the implementation of paramedic services and administering a law enforcement program. MCRPC also supported the 1970 census, with one person designated as the census key person. On this slide, you can see the regional planning process that's included in the annual report for MCRPC for 1975. And I know it's pretty small, but I think it just kind of helps give a sense of the nature of planning during these initial years of MCRPC. During the 80s and 90s, MCRPC continued to evolve and address the unique needs of the time, although federal funding for regional initiatives were diminishing. Staff fell to 6 in 1982, and in 1983, MCRPC partnered with the County Highway Department to establish a numbering system for rural roads in the county. In 1984, Ken Emmons was selected as the executive director, and in the 1990s, long-range planning and citizen involvement became central to the planning of MCRPC. The executive committee was created, and the commission was restructured to include more diverse stakeholders such as local school districts, the airport authority, the water reclamation district, and others. Paul Russell became the executive director in 1994, which he remained until 2013. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with him. In 1997, MCRPC developed the first regional greenways plan. Okay, in the 1980s, MCRPC coordinated the conducted a study of the flood problems of the area. The image to the right is an image used as a part of the stormwater drainage study completed during this time. MCRPC continued as a liaison for the 1980 census, and McLean County Economic Opportunity Corporation, now known as McLean County Community Action Agency, or MCCA, contacted MCRPC to support planning assistance and data analysis to support low-income households and other households served by MCEOC. MCRPC updated the land use plan for Bloomington's west side and began a solid waste management study, performed energy audits, and created healthcare program recommendations. Let me just skip the slide. Could you go back? Okay. Is this slide done? Okay. So, McLean County experienced continued rapid growth, and between 1980 and 1990, the population increased by 8.39%, far outpacing peer cities such as Champaign and Peoria. McLean County experienced the greatest absolute growth of any Illinois county outside of Cook County between 1970 and 1990. So some of the functions remain constant, such things we've mentioned, the TIF, the comprehensive planning. The context for planning changed dramatically because of the aforementioned population growth and technological advances. During the 90s, MCRPC developed the Southwest Bloomington Plan and the Solid Waste Needs Assessment to support this population growth and established the Traffic Analysis Zone, or TAZ, for the area. TAZ models are used to forecast population growth, economic growth, and transportation and transit capacity. Additionally, MCRPC was a driving force for the creation for the McLean County Geographic Information System Consortium, or GIS. Between 2000 and 2000, there we go. Okay. Between 2000 and 2021, MCRPC reestablished itself as a regional partner. And in 2001, VICJIS was officially established with MCRPC as the lead agency. MCRPC also reinvigorated its community agency or engagement by starting an annual community information forum that provided insight into local planning and engaged with a variety of community stakeholders. In 2007, IDOT established Illinois Regions for the Human Services Transportation Plans to support the coordination of rural transit. In 2009, McLean County was established as the county coordinator for HSTP Region 6. In 2013, Executive Director Paul Russell, AICP, retired after 20 years, and the commission selected Vasu Gadarashu, AICP, as the new Executive Director. Throughout this time, MCRPC won a variety of awards, including the state awards for Bloomington's Comprehensive Plan and Normal's Comprehensive Plans. And Bring It On Bloomington was one of only 8 in the nation to meet APA's Comprehensive Plan standards for sustaining places. In 2018, MCRPC established the Regional Housing Initiatives, which is comprised of 2 working committees, the Staff Committee and the Affordable and Supportive Housing Committee, or ASH. In 2019, MCRPC became a part of the McLean County government, and in 2020, Raymond Lai, AICP, was selected as the new executive director 2 months before the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the challenges brought on by the pandemic, MCRPC staff continued to engage in outreach, and in 2020 received the APA Illinois Public Outreach Award for Bloomington and Normal's Consolidated Plan, and received the Public Outreach Award from APA Illinois for the 2020 Census Outreach Activities. Additionally, MCRPC was awarded the Federal Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity RAISE Planning Grant. This grant will create a plan to make Veterans Parkway more accessible for multimodal transportation and safer for all transportation users. Okay, between 2000 and 2009, the MCRPC instituted a consistency review process and evaluated land development against comprehensive plans, updated comprehensive plans for Bloomington, Normal, and Chinoa, and created planning documents for Lexington, Bloomington, Stedman Grove, Dividends Grove neighborhood. That's where I live. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying it. North Normal, Logan County, and more. MCRPC also developed the McLean County Regional Comprehensive Plan, which provides a framework for continued regional cooperation and support of sensible growth. It includes 9 different elements: natural environment, historic preservation, urban revitalization, economic development, population, housing, land use, transportation, community facilities and services, and then finally implementation. In 2017, MCRPC developed BN Home, the first geographic housing, the first regional housing study since 1970. MCRPC restructured and refocused the Greenways Advisory Committee, a committee that has served local governments and agencies for over 20 years to advise Greenway planning efforts. Health and transportation safety plans were developed with the first regional health plan and the Go Safe McLean County Action Plan. And MCRPC executed an agreement with Connect Transit for technical assistance and planning support. Okay, so moving a little bit onto the budget, funding for MCRPC has changed dramatically since 1968. Initially, funding was primarily from local and county governments, then funding primarily came from HUD, and then federal transportation funding became central to the budget. Throughout the years, MCRPC has received special funding for projects of unique and specific concern. For example, in 1966, over half the budget of MCRPC supported aerial mapping. This funding came specifically from Bloomington Normal for this task and this task only. More recently, the previously mentioned RAISE grant will impact the work of MCRPC for this special funding opportunity. Throughout the years, you might also notice that different years have different fiscal year timeframes. In the early years of MCRPC, annual budgets for annual reports represented calendar years. However, as funding diversified and reporting requirements changed, MCRPC now has 5 different fiscal years. to consider throughout a lot of different planning processes. So the Unified Work Program, or UWPs, encompass the state budget, which starts every year on July 1st, and this budget aligns with IDOT's budget. Overall work programs, or OWPs, represent the county's fiscal year. The federal fiscal year then starts on October 1st. The city of Bloomington and the town of Normal both have different fiscal years starting in the springtime, which is important for the regional service agreements and CDBG funding that MCRPC receives from both entities. Okay, so here is the most current budget. So if you look at the images to the right, you might notice that not only is MCRPC's budget much bigger today, but it also includes a wide variety of sources, like I mentioned. This budget is from FY 2022, the OWP, which is again the county fiscal year. As you can see, 56% of MCRPC's budget is from federal funds, where just over a quarter of the budget was from federal funds in 1979 and approximately 30% in 1989. Regional service agreements have remained a constant source of funding for much of MCRPC's history as well, and local funds make up of the last 10% of the budget comes from the state funding. Sorry, my mouth is a little dry from all this talking, but I'm almost done. Okay, so that previous slide with the budget shows supports 9 different work elements for MCRPC staff. And these work elements encompass diverse work that includes the original functions of MPOs, like I keep saying, the TIPs, comprehensive plans, but also some major plans and data gathering, analysis, and dissemination that are unique to the needs of the Clean County today. Some of the work encompassed by these work elements that you can see on the left include ongoing things like updating housing white papers that offer information about local housing data. They also include the different BNN finals and other dashboards, as well as some unique point in time or one-off funding opportunities, such as creating the Clean County Go Safe, the Clean County Action Plan, and other types of funding activities. So in conclusion, planning commissions are mandated to have long-term plans to best prepare for the ever-changing nature of cities, which includes, but is not limited to, a variety of challenges like a global pandemic, as well as opportunities as such as the growing push for more regional coordination. Ultimately, the job of MCRPC is to leverage these planning tools, best practices from interdisciplinary professionals, and local knowledge to envision a better future for their community and equip government agencies and local institutions to improve the quality of life for their community members. And that is the conclusion. If you have some questions, I would do my best to answer them now, or otherwise I might direct them to Ray and Jen. Thank you. Any questions?
How do we make this available to the public for their education? Put this on our website, or?
Yeah, what we plan on doing is to distribute to to all the commission members. I mean, then we definitely can put it on our website because it's a good kind of condensed version of history. But yeah.
Any questions for Cassidy? Thank you, Cassidy. Well,
Thank you so much.
No, the next item is regional housing initiatives, Tessa.
Hi, everybody. So some updates about our regional housing initiative. To start with our Housing Assistance Coalition. So again, this is the coalition that helps distribute COVID-19 assistance to residents in the county. So members of the coalition have currently provided over $5 million in COVID-19 related assistance to county residents since May of 2020. Distribution and assistance has recently slowed down since January due to some agencies running out of funding for this kind of assistance. Statewide, the Illinois Housing and Development Authority has recently released data on the first round of their Illinois rental payment program, which ran from May to July of 2021. This data shows that
apologize, just for the benefit of people on the screen. Can you, we just want to make sure people will see you also.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's weird, like not looking at, but, okay. So, yes, so statewide, the Illinois Housing and Development Authority recently released data on their first round of their rental payment program. So again, this is from May to July of 2021. This data shows that 720 McLean County households received rental assistance. So this makes up 4% of the eligible renters who qualify to receive assistance. And in total, the county received $3.8 million in rental assistance for this round. Data for the second round, which the application period for that closed in January of 2022, has yet to be released. The Illinois Housing and Development Authority also recently announced that they will begin accepting applications for homeowners in need of mortgage or property tax assistance. So they'll begin accepting applications in April, and eligible applications or applicants can receive grants of up to $30,000. So moving on to more of a regional housing staff committee update. Members of this committee have been developing a new list of 5-year work priorities, including developing strategies for outreach to developers, landlords, homeowners, and renters, assessing tools to spur residential development opportunities, and continued data collection on our market rate and affordable housing stock. MCRPC staff also completed an application recently to join the Peer Cities Network. This is coordinated by New York University's Housing Solutions Lab and provides small and mid-sized cities the opportunity to learn from housing policy experts, share experiences from similarly sized cities, have access to data, and have technical support from the lab. And selected cities will be notified by March 14th. Does anyone have any questions? All right,
Thanks, Tessa.
hearing none. Thank you, everyone.
Jennifer is next on the Phaser project.
Thank you, John. As you heard, sorry, my equipment decided to withdraw at the worst possible moment. Phaser is our old friend, the pavement surface evaluation and grading system, which everyone in town except Normal was using. So now we are setting Normal up to do that. So that's our state planning and research grant for this purpose, which they are rapidly spending now. As of this afternoon, the status was, and town staff is continuing to review the preliminary pavement PCI ratings, which were acquired and developed from actually scanning the streets with a special car. Town staff are also continuing to work with consultants to formulate pavement preservation strategies to address the conditions that have been identified through that survey process and the evaluation standards that have been applied. Also working with the consultants to develop specific projects that will address those pavement conditions, ways in which to improve the pavement, stabilize it or whatever, and to estimate cost per project. And this is being done so that as time goes on and these various locations require maintenance or improvement of some kind, there will be a project defined in order to take on that process and have a good idea of how much it's going to cost, which will enable the town to add into both their budget in terms of their internal work and potentially into the regional transportation project budget as well, the one that we maintain. Work is continuing on what is called the pavement life cycle analysis, which is to take the data they already have, look at and determine what the real process for pavement in certain conditions is going to be. Again, this goes hand in hand with project definition so that it helps us to understand how much the town will have to set aside or have available in order to maintain the streets in the appropriate condition. we are closing in on the end of the state fiscal year deadline for this project, which is the end of June. The town seems to feel that at this point, it may actually continue into mid to perhaps late summer. They're still evaluating how long that will take and look at what that means for the project budget and how it can be managed for the duration so that they can cover everything they need to cover. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jennifer. And, next is Ray's going to talk to us about the 5G project.
Thank you. As you know, in the past, so I don't want to repeat myself on the nature of the project, of the 5G project, unless you have some specific questions. But then the consultant CDC is kind of wrapping up on the project with a few outstanding comments to address. Comments from staff. We have kind of some departmental, intermunicipal team from the city, town, and us looking at the report. So there's just a few comments they still have to address the consultant. And so we are hoping that they will be able to finish everything and then make a presentation to you all, since the commission, the Regional Planning Commission, did fund the project, and then they will come back for a presentation for your consideration of acceptance of the report. And so whether it's next month or May, then we got coordinating the schedule with the consultants. But yeah, it's wrapping up. We're glad that the project is done, but then there's other implementation, as typically you would have to be considered.
Right, so once we get a presentation and we accept the report, then the report will go to the municipalities for them to adopt the guidelines, or hopefully to adopt the guidelines.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because there's a lot of recommendations. So yeah, the town and the city individually, they have to adopt whatever they think appropriate. There could be some kind of regional actions items that maybe we would have to consider in conjunction with the city and town staff too. But yeah.
Okay.
But this is all about adopting guidelines, isn't it? So we're a long ways from construction.
Yes, a long way for construction, but actually the nature of the study is more for see how the current regulations, how they are good for how the technology and the different service providers, all the equipment they're installing, are they good for the city in the town? And so, so there will be individual rules, and codes, adoptions, considerations, but not too much of construction by the government. The government pretty much would regulate the construction of those equipment, like public right of ways on private properties or whatever the location is. Then they have a say. The government has a say where it is.
So connectivity isn't terrible in normal in Bloomington. What about outside in the rural areas that don't have access to broadband or those spaces?
Right.
Because that's really the fix, isn't it?
That's a very good question, because we recognize the issue. The study itself, while it's not directly related to that, but there's an entity called BNIA, Bloomington Normal Innovation Alliance, is looking at that, what we call digital divide issue. And that is exactly what you were talking about. How do we provide, not the Regional Planning Commission, but the different entities, what we can do to provide that access and availability of services to the rural communities. So there is and is the timeline is also on this BNIA group too. There's a subgroup that's looking at the digital divide issue. We know there are a lot of fundings available, but sometimes those funding go toward the providers. But then the government, we try to look at what we can do to close that gap. But yeah, definitely, we at least for our MCRPC staff, we recognize the importance of the availability access of Wi-Fi, and even for the farming communities, we need that for different reasons, from kind of education to health to other things. So, but that is not what this study is trying to address, but we recognize that the issue is there.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Ray. Vision Zero and the Go Safe Action Project.
Thank you. As pointed out in Cassidy's presentation, Go Safe Action Plan was one of the plans that we did, and then you adopted in April of 2021. I think most of you were on board then. And so it's a traffic safety plan. And recently, as Greg pointed out, we actually applied to IDOT for a grant for pedestrian and bike safety plan. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. We work hard on that. That is just one of many ways we're trying to apply for funding for implementation for safety. While that grant was for normal pedestrian and bicycles, but we know there more, and so we consistently actively looking for grant opportunities. And so besides that grant, right now we're considering some other IDOT grants that see if that would fit in terms of outreaching the community for safety. And so we try to decide whether to pursue that grant. There's some limitations and whatnot. So, but our staff consistently, actively, we want to have that plan implemented. We don't want to just have the plan done. So, but yeah, we really putting a lot of effort. It's not easy to put a grant application together, as you can imagine, but we try. And so we're hoping the one that we submitted like just a couple of weeks ago, hopefully it's successful, but if not, we keep looking for other opportunities.
So does IDOT own the solution, or is that a collaboration between the cities and IDOT?
The IDOT will provide the funding if we got it, and then our proposal for that one, will be working with the police departments of Bloomington, Normal, Sheriff Department, ISU Police Department, and it's for the whole area, not just ISU, not just for the students, but we are hoping to more outreaching, get the information, because we haven't done like a community-wide effort, because we need money to do that. So with the funding, if it becomes available, we hope to be able to use the money for some materials, outreach, communications, to get the word out about the Go Safe plan. That's the idea. We don't know how much money because it's a really competitive grant. I think there's only about 1.5 million for the whole state, right? So depending how many people, entity applying for that grant. We went for, I think, about $35,000 roughly.
Yeah, 35.
Yeah. And so, as you know, it doesn't buy you a lot, but we try, because I think from our standpoint, every little steps we can take is good, because it takes those small steps to make it big things.
So the money's to get the word out. It's not actually to solve the problem.
We're hoping through the outreach, like buying like materials or giveaways, then posters, putting like billboard messages to get the word out for safety. So we hope to solve the problem, because with that will refer people to go to our websites in different ways that they can help to solve the problem. But we recognize the solution is not one single track. There's just so many different ways. And it's identified by the Go Safe plan. There are really the three main areas that we look at. One is the cultural change, right? I mean, that's the behavior. And then the second, infrastructure. Whether to change the road radius and whatnot, width or narrow it. And then the third one is data and technology. Using, sometimes if you drive a newer model, a more recent model, you have those fancy things. If you want to change the lane, it will alert you and there's a car next to you. And those type of things. So depending on the grants, the nature, what they would allow the grantees to use the money for, we're trying to appropriately apply and in relationship to the Go Safe plan and how it fits with some of the recommendations.
Thanks, Ray. Any other questions?
Comment. Seems like we're seeing more and more electric bikes, not cars, but bikes. So it'd be interesting to see how those are allowed and the safety on Constitution Trail on our streets. I mean, every time we think we've got it figured out, there's something new.
Yes.
All these
There's no quiet.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you. Any questions?
No other questions? Okay, is there any other business for the commission at this meeting?
I have one thing, if there's none, just more FYI, every 5 years, we require the federal government to update our long-range transportation plan. And so the last one was done in 2017. So this is the time to, the 5 years to update the plan. And we add the word metropolitan to the long-range transportation plan to it because we need for our metro area. Because according to the INOT, as the first slide that Cassidy showed us, the planning area is not the entire county, but it's what they call the urbanized area. And we recognize a lot of people from the rural, they come into the urban area and whatnot. So we are in the process of inviting steering committee, just give you an update. The staff actually has done a lot of legwork on this project, but we are at a point that we are inviting just transportation technical committee members, which you saw from the Cassidy's presentation, and also some other representatives in the area, the school districts, the universities, and so actually some of those invitees also incidentally serve on the regional planning commission. But that's not to say that's just for the members of the steering committee. But actually, after they take off and everything, we will be outreaching to the community as a whole. It will be like focus groups that will involve others, the Boys and Girls Club, the health community, and some major corporations, and that will be more robust engagement process. But just want to give you a heads up. So once I hear back from all the invitees, then we have a meeting set up, and then we'll provide that monthly updates as the other major project. So I just want to bring it to your attention.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, Tony, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Thank you both.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.